Robinson, Hoke, Harnett, Bladen, and surrounding counties from 2 locations, 2010 Murchison Road, Fayetteville, 1904 Elizabethtown Road, Lumberton. For more information, visit our website, www.hmcoven.com.
Welcome to Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live, broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room.
The WIDU Radio Network, WAGR in Lumberton, WYDU in Red Springs, WEWO in Laurinburg.
Making Rounds Live on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
We air every second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
Making Rounds Live.
The purpose of this show is to bring you information on health and wellness.
Here's the host of Making Rounds Live, Omega Jones.
Thank you so much, Ray. Might as well say happy Thanksgiving and welcome to another edition of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. I'm your host, Omega Jones. The holidays are upon us, folks, and the holidays usually bring excitement, celebration, and togetherness, but it can also be a difficult time for many people in our community. And for those of us, and I include myself in this, for those of us grieving the loss of loved ones who have passed away, or maybe you're in the military and you're missing a family member who is deployed. People face seasonal depression, homelessness, financial stress during this time of year, and it can feel overwhelming rather than joyful. Now, before we get started with today's broadcast, because of some of the challenges and issues that we're going to discuss today, remember that this broadcast is not a time for you to self-diagnose. This is for informational purposes only. If you find yourself suffering, or a loved one or a friend suffering from anything that we may discuss today, find yourself a healthcare professional. Today, ladies and gentlemen, our in-studio guest is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Shadonna McFall. Many of you know her as Mo from the Mo You Know. Now, I've been blessed to work with this lady in the trenches doing community work. And once upon a time, she had a television show called The Mo You Know. And that's where she focused on a lot of the community issues and a lot of the resources that a lot of folks in the community aren't really aware of. She's a veteran. She is a community activist, an advocate, and she is, you might as well say, a wellness speaker. And I'm going to let her explain that later on in the broadcast. So she shows basically people how to explore, how to recognize these challenges that they may face during the holidays, and how we can support one another during those rough times. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Miss Shadonna McFall to Making Rounds Live. Shadonna, how you been, lady?
That was great, Omega. Listen, I feel like, how you doing? I am amazing, and I'm so honored to be here, because I was telling Lindsay earlier, every time I see you, I'm like, oh, I still fan out, so I'm so honored to be here.
Girl, no reason to fan out. We work in the trenches together, honey. There's
Absolutely.
No reason to fan out. Mo, for those of you who may not know, share a little bit about your background. And what motivates you to get down in those trenches and work the way you do?
Oh, so first of all, I was born at Cape Fear Valley. I got to make sure I say that, because we are on Making Rounds Live by Cape Fear Valley. So I was born right here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Like I said, I joined the military right after I graduated from Douglasburg. And it's funny because tomorrow, November the 26th, is actually the day that I joined the military. I was 18. I was tired of my mama. My mama was tired of me. So I went and did my 20 years and came home. But while I was serving, I saw so much, I experienced so much. And in the military, we're taught to solve problems. So I was like, okay, well, I see these people have this over here, these people have that over there. And, you know, I would just try to bring things together because people just don't know. It's not that we don't have it. And, you know, I always talk about the have and the have-nots. It's not that we don't have it. You just don't know that we have it. And once you find out that we have it, you have to take the initiative to go get it. So that's what motivates me, because I hate when we're people that are living in lack, because we don't have to.
Yeah. Now, the holidays, not so much of a joyous time for many of us. Why do you think the holiday season is especially hard for those who are grieving or for those who are missing a loved one? You remember at the beginning of the broadcast, I said I was glad you were here today because we hear so much of the clinical side of things, but we've never really heard of someone who has experienced it, who is transparent enough to share their stories and their testimonies.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head in the question, because we're grieving. We're at a loss. A lot of times, like I said, I told you I did 20 years in the military, so I missed a lot of holidays. And a lot of times when you're used to having certain things, and you know, we're watching the Hallmark movies, we're watching the Lifetime movies, we're watching all of this production of what the holidays are supposed to look like, and then when we look at our reality and it doesn't look like what society says it's supposed to look like, you know, we don't have all the gifts under the tree, you know, so it's just like, okay guys, that's made up. As long as we know
That's
the
Hollywood.
reality, yes, this is made up. This is not real life. Some people really do live like that. Some people really have made it where they can have the cards with the big bowls and all of that. But that doesn't necessarily make you happy. What I always tell people, and what I always tell myself, I make a list of the things that really are going to make me happy. The chocolate ice cream, the watching the old school wrestling, you know, little things like that. So I'm not really caught up in, I can't go to the mall and spend all this money because I ain't got it, you know. And even if I did have it, I want to have it for 2026 because this holiday is just going to come and go. I want to live good all year round.
You want to have some month at the end of your money.
Yes.
I get that. Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, we have Miss Shadonna McFall. We know her as Mo from the Mo You Know, and a community activist, veteran. If you have an event, you have seen this woman out and about in the community. Now, Mo, let's talk about military families.
Yeah.
Some, they have loved ones who are deployed. This could be their first year of being by themselves and being alone. Being a veteran yourself, what have you seen or experienced that would help families cope or stay connected?
So one of the things, like I said, I left Thanksgiving. So out the gate, I was gone for Thanksgiving. So some of the things that I've seen during my time in the military is PCS. You know, PCS, that means a change of station. Sometimes you go to a whole new city, you don't have your pots, you don't have your pans, you don't know anybody, you don't know what's going on. So you have to really, like now we have social media. And I grew up in a time where we didn't have social media. We didn't have Google. So, you know, you kind of got to navigate with, you know, what you have now. But it's hard when you don't know anything. You know, you're used to this, you're used to that. And sometimes, you know, you're able to come home for the holidays, and sometimes you're not. So what I will tell anybody who is in the military who can't come home, you know, we have all these programs. You know, adopt a family, you know, adopt a soldier. You know, they're really good on these military bases about giving them cookies and the things because they know it can be a hard time. You know, there are some organizations who will even buy the plane tickets to send the people home. But guess what? Sometimes people don't want to go home because home is not as happy as being here with my family and friends. So sometimes I could have came home, but I stayed to party with my family and friends because that was my family growing up. Because like I said, I go home and have these couple of days with my biological family, but then I got 2 or 3 more years that I got to get through this assignment. So I had to make it happen with who I'm gonna be in the trenches with.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shadonna McFall. She is our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. We're talking about holiday grief. We're talking about loneliness. We're talking about depression today. And if you would like to join in on today's conversation, you can't call the studios because Miss Galinda, she's enjoying the Thanksgiving week. So you can't call in, but what you can do is you can, if you're following us on Cape Fear Valley's Facebook page or YouTube channel, what you can do is leave a question in the comments section. Lindsay will make sure that we get those questions answered for you today. Also, I want you to make sure you share this broadcast. The reason why we're not using a bunch of clinical terminology today, we're having a heart-to-heart conversation about depression, about grief, about loneliness during the holidays, about those stressors during the holidays. And you could be a blessing to someone by sharing today's broadcast. And today we have Miss Shadonna McFall. She is a vet. She is a community activist. She is in the trenches when it comes to connecting resources with people who need those resources. Now, Shadonna, according to the National Alliance on Mental Health, last year, 28% of adults reported an increase in depression during the holiday season. Now, for adults in general, the holiday season, as we mentioned earlier, it can bring a variety of stressors that lead to depression. So let's talk about grief and depression. It can show up in so many ways. On a personal level, it's ruthless, it's sneaky. What are some signs that a person may need? What are some signs that a person may need extra support to get by these holiday seasons?
Yes, absolutely. You know, knowing your family and friends, knowing their everyday behavior, knowing if they're happy or sad or goofy. Like I made a video right before I came here because, you know, my normal personality is I'm happy, I'm jovial. You know, when you see somebody that's not as happy, they're not being their normal selves. I think that's the first sign, you know, really knowing people's patterns. And when you notice someone's pattern is off, and hey, you know, is everything okay? And I also tell people when you notice your own pattern is off, because, you know, we live in a world now where we know that no one's coming to save us. We have to let people know, hey, guys, I'm feeling down. I'm feeling depressed. You know, we got to let that ego and that pride kind of go aside for a little bit. And that's hard. That's really hard for a lot of people to do. But if you want to get through it, that's what you have to do. Being totally 100% honest and transparent with yourself. You don't have time to try to impress. I know everybody loves to impress social media. I know everybody loves to impress the world, but when you're going through it, you don't have time. You can't. When I'm down and out, I'm like, I don't even turn my phone. I let it go dead. Yep. The last thing I'm thinking about is the mo you know. I'm thinking about Shadonna McFall and how Shadonna McFall is going to get out of this bed, how Shadonna McFall is going to go get some food for my 13-year-old that all he wants to do is eat. So I'm not thinking about nothing else. I'm not thinking about the fakery of the world. I'm thinking about right now. You know how some people be like, you know, I don't care how it looks. I only care how it feels. So that's the thing when we're like, okay, how does it feel? Like, because people can make it with AI. People can make anything look like anything. Really? So you really gotta lock in on how you really want your life to feel outside of what anybody else is thinking. I know we talked about they. Who is they?
Who is they? You know what? We're going to talk more about they, egos, and prides in just a bit because we've got to take this break for North Carolina news. Ladies and gentlemen, our in-studio guest today, Miss Shadonna McFall. We're going to continue the conversation about depression, about grief, about holiday stressors in just a bit. Cape Fear Valley Health, Making Rounds Live. Make sure you stay close.
We'll be right back with more of Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
The WIDU Radio Network.
It's the holiday travel season again. Millions of travelers will be traveling by car, plane, or public transit this Thanksgiving to spend it with their loved ones. A lot of people started on Monday. A federal judge has dismissed the criminal charges filed against former FBI Director James Comey and New York State Attorney General Letitia James. President Trump spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday. Xi invited the president to Beijing next year, and he accepted. And also, Xi will come to the United States next year for a conference. Governor Josh Stein and First Lady Anna Stein are spending some of their holidays giving back to those who serve. The pair visited Seymour Johnson Air Force Base to host a Friendsgiving celebration. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. A portion of Highland Avenue between Hay Street and Arsenal Avenue will be temporarily closed today. That is from 5 a.m. until noon. Plan ahead for alternative routes and allow for additional travel times. Fayetteville PWC is encouraging residents and business owners to participate at one of 3 public hearings hosted by the North Carolina Environmental Management Commission regarding the draft of an environmental impact statement for an interbasin transfer certificate request. You can learn more at faypwc.com. The meetings are December 4th at 6 p.m. Sign-in begins at 5:30. That's at Fayetteville Technology Community College, the Cumberland Hall Auditorium. There is one in Raleigh on December 9th. There is one in Pittsboro on December 11th. Again, you can get more details about the project online. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Starting out fairly cool and calm this Tuesday morning, heading into the afternoon. It's warmer, high temperatures making it into the low to mid 70s with just a stray shower. There's a slightly better chance of scattered showers heading into the evening and overnight hours with lows in the low 60s. A few showers early on Wednesday, then near record warmth, highs in the 70s. We're about 20 degrees lower, however, by Thanksgiving afternoon. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the Weather Center.
Hi, I'm Mitch Colvin, president of Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. For over 50 years, our family has provided professional services with dignity, compassion, and respect with families during a time of need. We realize funeral services are as unique as those we're honoring. We offer a variety of affordable, quality services tailored to meet each family's needs, specializing in burial and cremation services. Proudly servicing Cumberland, Robeson, Hoke, Harnett, Bladen, and surrounding counties from 2 locations, 2010 Murchison Road, Fayetteville, 1904 Elizabethtown Road, Lumberton. For more information, visit our website, www.hmcolvin.com.
Attention Fayetteville, 2025 and 2026 Hondas are here at Bryan Honda, your #1 destination for unbeatable deals. New 2025 and 26 Honda Pilots, Accords, Civics, and CRVs are arriving daily. Whether you're looking for style, performance, or unbeatable reliability, Bryan Honda has the perfect ride for you. Need financing? No problem. Our hassle-free financing makes it easier than ever to drive home in a brand new Honda today. And remember, all new and pre-owned vehicles include the first 2 years of maintenance free. Stop by Bryan Honda, 4104 Rayford Road in Fayetteville, or you can visit us online, bryanhonda.com. What are you waiting for, Fayetteville? Come into Bryan Honda for unbeatable deals. Nobody beats a Bryan Honda deal. Not now, not ever.
We now return to Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live on the WIDU network, 99.7 FM, 1600 AM. Here's Omega Jones.
Thank you so much, Ray. Welcome back to the second segment of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Before we bring in our today's guest, Ms. Shadonna McFall, I do want to remind everyone that earlier this year we had a lady on the broadcast by the name of Rachel Thurner. And she was on the program talking about the No One Dies Alone program at Cape Fear Valley Health. And in case you don't know, Ms. Sterner, she is the coordinator of NODA. And NODA is going to have a volunteer social and free CPR training. This is going to take place on Saturday, January 17th, in the Center for Medical Education, which is a really big, beautiful building over on Melrose Street or Melrose Road here in Fayetteville. Now, NODA volunteer training is going to take place that morning from 8 a.m. until 10:30, and it's going to be and you can also take the CPR class that afternoon, and it's going to be in the same location, and anyone who wants to attend is welcome to attend. NODA, No One Dies Alone program, awesome program that they have at Cape Fear Valley Health. Ladies and gentlemen, our in-studio guest today, Ms. Shadonna Mo McFall. Shadonna is a vet. She's a community activist. She is a social media influencer. You name it, that's what Mo does, and she's in the trenches in the community. And the reason why we're talking to her today is we're talking about grief, we're talking about depression, we're talking about the holiday stressors. And we wanted to talk to Son. I'm glad she's with us today because normally we have the doctors and things on during the holidays and they give us a lot of clinical information. But Shadonna's transparent today, and she's going to talk to us one-on-one about her personal experiences. I'm going to share some of mine, and that's the reason why we're doing the broadcast today. Now, Shadonna, before we went into break, we were talking about that ego and that pride that stops people from asking for help. I was one of them. After Darvin passed, I did not ask for help. I didn't go to counseling, and I had my reasons. And but one thing, like you said, we've got to let go of that ego and that pride. And when we see that we need help, we need to ask for it. So once again, for the listeners who are just joining us, explain why it is so important to let that ego and that pride go and reach out for help.
Absolutely. So the reason why I say let the ego and the pride go, because like I said earlier, I have a 13-year-old son that, kind of depends on me. He's with his dad now, depending on him. But normally, I am the provider. I'm the person that has to do all the things. And as you mentioned, I have a lot of responsibilities that I love to do. And I'm like, okay, Mo, you cannot do all the things you have to do if your mind isn't right. So one of the things I always tell people, go get the help, because that hour, that 30 minutes that you can go to counseling, you're free to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. You could talk about your mama, your daddy. You could talk about the real things, seriously, really the things that are bothering you, because if we're honest about what's really bothering us, we can get to the problem a lot faster. And you talk to your friends and then they turn on you, then your business is in the street.
Oh, business all in the street?
That counselor and that therapist is not going to tell a soul. They're going to take their notes and they're going to give you some wise counsel. Hey, they're going to tell you not to take this so personal, not to do this and not to do that. And then it's like if we listen to what they're telling us and really take action on it, we can get out of our own minds, get out of our heads, thinking that people are out to get us for whatever reason. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, Mo, you want to do too much to have this pride and this ego, because it's not going to get you anywhere. I have enough confidence to be able to move and do all the things, but when it comes to pride and ego, I'm like, no, this is not going to work for what I'm trying to do, for where I'm trying to go. Because a lot of times when people think you cocky and all this, and which I'm not, sometimes I'll pop my collar, especially if I know I done did the things. Yeah, sometimes, but, and that's the thing too, you talk about humility and how you should go about doing things and how you don't, dim your light because they don't like it. If you did these things without the resources, if you made these things happen, you gotta let people know what you're doing and how you're doing it so you can get the support. So
we just need to find out who they are.
That's
That's all we need to find out.
And I tell you, if you are one of that have these issues, because every time I go somewhere, they be like, Mo, they don't like you. Who is they? Inbox me. Let's talk about it.
Look, you already know your light is shining, and it's sometimes people need to put on sunglasses, boo. Ladies and gentlemen, veteran community activist, and you might as well say wellness coach, Miss Shadonna McFall. She's our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Shadonna, a lot of people don't realize when normal holiday stress has crossed into something more serious. Mm-hmm. What should they pay attention to?
I think folks should definitely pay attention to patterns and how are you feeling? Like, be honest with yourself. If you're like, man, I don't feel like doing this today, pause. A lot of times, we're taught to thug it out, to get it out the mud, to do all the things. Take a break. And I know people, especially still in corporate, you don't have no PTO days, you don't have this, you can't get off, but listen, you are your coach. If you don't have anybody that's saying, hey, Mo, because sometimes they have people that'll have your schedule and, okay, you can take a break here, you can take a break there. But if you're not on that level where somebody is scheduling your breaks and your timeouts, you have to schedule your own breaks and your own timeouts, because if you're not 100% for you, you're not going to be good to anybody. So knowing that, hey, listen, I need a break, because they're going to figure it out.
Oh, they will.
They will figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Corporations are going to figure it out.
They are going to figure. They have a plan to the plan to the plan. They have a backup to
the backup to the backup to the backup.
When I retired, I said Big Blue is going to fly without me. Air Force ain't missed a beat since I've been gone.
That's it. Corporate radio ain't missed a beat since I've been gone.
One is. You're the one that's going to miss a beat if you don't get yourself together. If you don't stay on beat, if you don't recognize when you need to pause that your beat is off, that you got to pause. How to say left, keep it in step. You got to stop and to get back on step. Stop to get back on step.
You know what? I have nothing else to say. She's basically said it all, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Shadonna, are there any small everyday practices that someone can do to maybe change someone's mood or create a sense of routine or stability?
Yes, and there are so many. There's lists that people have published on social media, so I'm not making any of this up. I've seen it, and I'm just repeating what I saw, and I'm repeating what works for me. They say don't take a bath, take a shower in cold water. I know it's cold water, but you know what? That'll wake you up. And Omega, you're looking at me like cold water.
So will Starbucks, but I'm not going to be washing in it.
But sometimes when you need that splash of reality, like, okay, let me wake up, let me do this, let me do that. So that's just what I heard. Take a bath in cold water. That'll rejuvenate you.
Let me know how that works out for y'all.
But some people ain't got no hot water. So, you're one of those, your first world problems. You wake up with hot water every day. There are some people that don't even have a choice.
Okay, well, just break me back down to size.
Seriously, and we take those for granted. We take those hot showers for granted. Like, sometimes when you're in a hotel and everybody's using all the hot water. So that's just one thing that they say. Take a shower, not a bath. But I love my baths. Go for a walk. It's free. Like, I know I paid this crazy gym membership that I want to cancel, but they won't let me. But I like to get my steps in. Walking and talking to God, that's what works for me. Like, finding those things that you can do that are at little to no cost. Because, like I said, there's a lot of people, like I said, right now who are out of work. There are a lot of people who, like I said, they're working and they're still having a hard time making ends meet.
That's true.
We just can't. Is the government back open or not?
I think it is.
Okay, so we got those people who lost money. They was going to work every day and still didn't have their money.
Didn't have.
So it's just like, guys, we gotta really find the things that we can do that don't cost anything, how we can be of service to help somebody if we have an extra hour or two. And nobody really has residual time, but if you do have a time to volunteer, and I know that you got your volunteer certificate over there, finding things that we talked about this while the camera wasn't rolling. finding things that you really love. Yesterday, I was at Virginia State talking to the students, and I asked them, like, what's something that you can do right now if you needed to go make some money, that's your God-given talent that you can do without training, that you can just do? And a lot of them are like, hey, I can do hair, I can sing, I can do this, I can do that. Great, go do it. But what are those things, too, that's going to bring you joy? And before my grandfather passed, he always talked about joy. You know, joy and happiness is kind of different. Joy, like I said, is the things that's within. So, you know, finding those things and being honest and transparent, even if it's going to make them upset, as long as you're happy. And right now, we have to be really selfish and intentional about us being happy, because everybody else is going on with their lives and their day, and you know, we're trying to people please. This is the time of the year, and it may sound selfish, but you have to be selfish, especially if you want to see another day, especially if you want to go into 2026, because in the military, you know, September is suicide prevention month. I know we're in November now, but suicides during the holidays, like you said, we talk about the depression, we talk about all the things, you know, when life just isn't life, and you know, you talk about the divorces, and you talk about, you know, when your spouse passed, or you know, whatever the case is, you know, when people leave your life and you're so used to having people around all the time, and you mentioned deployments, you know, sometimes you just really got to lock in on you. You got to lock in on you and be that strong foundation. I tell people all the time, you know, everybody else is a blessing. Everybody else is a bonus. And if you haven't listened to Whitney Houston's Greatest Love of All, listen to Whitney. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
Nope, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Shadonna McFall, she's our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Mo, the holidays can also bring financial pressure. You talked about that during the first segment. And I was on Nextdoor. I mentioned this before we went into the broadcast. I was on Nextdoor this morning, and I am seeing more and more people asking for help during the holidays. Now, I wouldn't advise people to respond to these posts on Nextdoor or anything like that, because 9 times out of 10 they're a scam. But for people experiencing homelessness or extreme financial stress, let's talk about some places they can go and receive maybe a holiday meal or support. I know one thing they can do is reach out to NC 211. I always tell people about that, because there's using the words of Stephen A. Smith, there's a plethora of information there that connects callers with updated information, holiday meals, shelter, the whole nine. Also, Uncle Carl Pringle, he does his yearly We Are One Big Family event, and I think people can find more information about that at Fayetteville Day Center over on 301. And I know he also needs volunteers. Off the top of your head, and you have all of these resources, tell us what's out there for people.
Yes, even when I just passed on my way to the station, so Urban Ministries giving out food, and Faye Today, there's a social media site, a social media platform. Crest Thompson does a phenomenal job getting that information out. And one of the services that I always tell people to use, findhelp.org. And findhelp.org,
that's an amazing site.
It is. You put your zip code in, because when people would always come to me, because I was always promoting I can help you, and I'm like, I knew more about things that was going on in the local communities, because I tell people the way my Cumberland County education is set up, I can read, write, and comprehend with the best of them. So seriously, findhelp.org, and it's not just for the holidays. This is 20 year round.
Yes,
and I tell people too, find the help before you need it, because when you're in that dark spot now everybody needs help. Now is not, and I'm not saying now is not the time to ask for help, but everybody. So you're going to be 30th to 300 on the list, because now everybody has put their name on the list. Everybody needs a turkey. Everybody needs a meal. So finding those resources before you need them, and know if something comes up, hey, I can go over here, and I know the criteria, because you talk about scams a lot of times too, you know, having that documentation, being able to show a bill that's due, being able to show the need. And there are some people who don't ask for anything. So just knowing, hey, I can go to Faye today. I can go to, like you said, mention 211. You can Google, Google is still our friend. But I tell people, too, when we talk about homelessness and all the things, homelessness, starts with employment. Yeah, so one of the things I always tell people, like I said, there's so many employment sites, the NC Works, the oh my God, and they work with NC Works. Veronica, she's going to kill me. I know this. There are so many from the state level down. NC Commerce, all these people that will help you find jobs that you can do. And when we talk about homeless people, they're like, oh, they got mental health issues. They also got Cape Fear Valley. They also have mental health providers.
That's true.
Every problem that we have, there's a solution for it. So you can tell me your problem, and I'm going to tell you the solution. Because I remember when I got out, there was the Cohen Clinic. They was attached to Cape Fear.
Yes.
And you know where I went every Wednesday at 10 o'clock?
You were at the Cohen Clinic?
I was at the Cohen Clinic.
Well, you probably ran into, because my cardiologist shares that office, so we probably ran into each other at some point in time. So talk about this. And for ladies and gentlemen, Lindsay is going to also give you a list of resources and organizations that are providing meals, that are providing shelter and that type of thing. So make sure you check the comment section and see all of the different resources that are available. Mo, the Holiday Classic you were telling us about, give us more details about that.
Yes, absolutely. I am so happy. December the 20th, we're going to be at the T.J. Robinson Life Center, 4221 Black Bridge Road in Hope Mills. Because like we talked about, when you're new to town, you don't know anybody, we want to have line dance, and Stephanie from Dance Without Sin is going to line dance, Christina and Keisha Kenzie, they're going to be there. Keisha does a lot with the police, and she does a lot with folks. Keisha is that mom that will take the orange slices and cut them up. And Christina loves to dance, and we're asking everybody just to come out if you need a friend, to be your friend, because we don't want you to be lonely. I tell people, I want you to make 26 new friends, because we're going into 2026 in Fayetteville, 26, and and we want people to be able to connect with people that can do things for you that has no monetary value. If you need a friend that you just need to go on a walk with, you need somebody to go coffee with, you need somebody, to pray with, whatever that thing is that you was missing in 2025, we're going to have an answer for you in 2026.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Shadonna McFall, the Mo, she is our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Also, before we close out today's broadcast, if you or a loved one is dealing with seasonal depression or other behavioral health concerns, don't forget, and you live in Cumberland County, don't forget the Cape Fear Valley's Community Mental Health Center. It offers counseling services, is located on Executive Place here in Fayetteville. And to schedule an appointment, you can call 910-615-3333. That's 910-615-3333. And services are available at little or no cost. Again, one of these resources that are available that people may not know about. Shadonna, let's talk about, because we've got a couple of minutes before we close out today's broadcast, what is the final message of encouragement that you want to share with our listeners, that you want to share with our viewers, or with anyone who may be having a hard time this holiday season?
Yes, the one thing that I want everybody to know is that, I hate to sound cliche, it's okay not to be okay. If you're not okay, like I said, take that pause. One of the things that we talked about in the military is, ask yourself why 8 times to get to the root of the problem. And if you're honest with yourself, you're like, oh, you don't have no money. Why don't you have no money? You ain't got no job. Why don't you have no job? Or you was cutting up at work. You know, whatever it is, be honest with yourself and ask. Yes, get to the root of the problem. And once you get to the root of the problem, we just talked about so many resources, services, and support that's free or little to no cost. And then even if there has a cost to it, your mental health and your mental wellness, you are your number one investment. If you don't take the time and invest in what you need, okay, if you got to go talk to a therapist and it costs money, baby, pay that money. Just like you have to pay for those oil changes, so those nice cars we like to drive, you have to invest in what you need. Sometimes it's free, but sometimes make sure you can invest to get what you need so you can get back on the right track. And don't worry about they. What would Rihanna say? They're going to talk about you whether you're doing bad or good. Give them something good to talk about.
Better yet, just find out who they are and just don't even worry about it, anybody. That's what you do. Shadonna, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. Keep up the amazing work, lady. You are needed in this community. You just need to know that you are needed in this community. So keep up the amazing work.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shadonna McFall, veteran community activist, trench worker for the community on our broadcast today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Our next broadcast is Tuesday, December 9th, as we head into the last month of 2025. So for our producers, Shaka Jordan, Ray Thomas, and Lizzie Graham, and the hardworking team behind the scenes, I'm Omega Jones, continuing the legacy of Darvin Jones. Thank you so much for listening and watching Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live.